So the 7 pillars of growth hacking. My name is Chris Out. I'm managing partner and lead growth hacker of RockBoost, one of the biggest growth hacking agencies in Europe. And of course, I'm super excited to be here because 5 years ago, I was trapped in this office. I was a first-year auditor at KPMG, and I hated my job so much that I decided to quit my job to become an entrepreneur. But this is how I was lying in my bed. Because I didn't have an idea for a startup, I didn't have any money, and my girlfriend back at the time thought that I was completely crazy. And then the clicker, yes, so this is how I was lying in my bed, not happy. But there was one thing that we were certain about. We would make a shitload of money. That's what we thought. But 1 year later, that didn't happen. But a year has given us an incredible gift, because in a year we lost more than 200K of our own money. But we learned a lot, and we took a deep dive, an immersion in the world of growth hacking, of online marketing. This is how it looked like when we started out. We didn't have the freaking clue what we're doing. But now, a couple of years later, we know what we are doing. This is Sean Ellis. He's the guy that coined the term growth hacking in 2010. He is one of our advisors of RockBoost. And what we're going to talk about today is growth hacking. And to be honest, that is a huge buzzword at the moment. So many people call themselves a growth hacker while they don't have a freaking clue what it's really about. But we have been saying from day one that there is one word missing within growth hacking. It should be called growth system hacking. You should build a growth system, a step-by-step process on how you're going to grow, and that's what you're going to hack. Because if you look at the definition of a hack, it's finding the weak spot in a system and then exploiting that weakness. That's what a computer hacker is doing. Constantly trying, where can we experiment to get into that computer. What I'm now going to show you is, as we call it, old school growth hacking. This is from 10 years ago. I speak in front of a lot of big marketing departments, and then I ask them, assume you're Airbnb, you want to grow really, really fast, what are you going to do? The answer they give is, of course, we're going to run ads. But Airbnb was a small startup without any budget, so they had to hack it. So what did they do? They used Craigslist, the marketplace of the US. They built an integration between Craigslist and Airbnb, and in that way they could steal like millions of clients. Like an old school marketeer would have never thought about this, because this was really a technical solution. They really piggybacked on another big company. So if you're a big company, ask yourself, which startup is currently piggybacking on my back? Or if you're a startup, who is that big corporate that already has customers which I can use to fund my growth? This is what really made the growth of Airbnb take off. And what I now want to show you is 3 principles from our model, the 7 pillars of growth hacking, which are truly important when you're a startup and you really want to grow really fast. The first thing is having a must-have experience. So to all the startups in the room, I challenge you, send out a survey to your current customers tomorrow. Ask them if they would be very disappointed if they couldn't buy from you anymore. You have product market fit if more than 40% says, I would be very disappointed. That question will give you a lot of insights on where you can double down. Because you're looking for 2 things when you're sending out that survey. The first thing that you want to know, when you ask them how disappointed would you be, is finding the aha moments, finding that first moment when people are really happy with you. But of course, you want to make people happy, but at the other end, you want to understand when you're frustrating them. When is your product really causing pain? Because if you understand that, then you understand how you need to create customer journeys and onboarding journeys. Facebook knows, for example, if you have 7 friends within 10 days, you keep using Facebook. Twitter knows, if you follow more than 30 people, you keep using Twitter. And Slack knows, if a team has sent more than 2,000 messages, you'll keep using Slack. You're addicted to it. So do you know for your own startup, do you understand the road to addiction? And what Sean Ellis is saying, and I totally agree with this, is as a startup, spend a lot of your resources on that first experience. Especially if you have an app, because if you look at this graph, this is a retention graph, you'll see that only the best apps have a high retention rate. So what does it mean? People open the app, they check it, it sucks, they'll never log in again. So you really need to wow them during that first experience, because otherwise you'll lose them. So what do we say? Get into action. Find the 3 most important aha moments of your product. Find the 3 most important points of friction. And really ask yourself, how can you get those aha moments as early on in the customer journey? What's that road to addiction? And the better that you understand that road to addiction, the faster you will grow. The next thing that you need to do is build a growth team. And this is what so many startups and also corporates are doing completely wrong. Because we have a big organizational enemy when it comes to growth. We call it the silo problem. It's the broken growth system. When you have a product department to create something, then gives it to marketing, who has to generate leads, and then sales has to close them. This is not working. So what did Facebook do in 2008? They built a new growth system. They built multidisciplinary growth teams, putting people together. So important. So who do you put into a growth team? You always have a growth lead or a product manager. Add IT to the team. I've seen so many people who say, I have a growth team, but there is no IT involved. The developers are making the changes in your app, on your website, so if they are not involved, you'll lose out on a lot of money. And of course, you add some other people like marketing specialists, analysts, and designers. And if you're a startup and you don't have these people in your team, look at who you're working with. Put them together. Put the digital agency, put your Facebook advertiser, put them together in one room, set that one metric that matters, and work together on it. Because what's the profile of a growth hacker? It's somebody whose true north is growth. So everything that you do is you want to tie it back to growth. And for that you need a certain skill set, which consists of 3 areas. So you have the creative marketing, you have the data part, and then a lot of marketeers will say, well, that's what we're doing. But there's also a saying within marketing, 50% of my marketing works, I only don't know which 50%. But as a startup, you want to know based on data what's working and what's not working. And please add the engineering and the automation part, because that's where the real leverage is. So how can you build a skill set for yourself? It's looking at your T-shape. So what is your broad knowledge? So what's things that you have read a book about, you have previous experience in, or if you followed courses on? And what's your deep knowledge? What's that one thing where you're really the expert at? That's how you can build a T-shape which is aligned with your most important growth goal. So what we say is we need more Mr. T's. I always find this joke hilarious, but it really depends on the age of the audience, if it's working or not, or the country. And the third thing, and this is really the exciting part, this is high tempo testing. That's what growth hacking is really about. Because to summarize growth hacking into one slide, we always start with the one metric that matters, one important growth goal. Let's say we want to get 1,000 new customers in. Let's analyze the data. How has this been working for you up till now? Generate a list of ideas. So what we always do with our clients, we generate a list with the first 100 growth hacks, always based on data. Then you're going to prioritize what you're going to do, and then you're eventually going to test. And this is the circle that you want to do as many times as possible. We had one client build a web shop, costed them 12 million euro. How many times a year could they do this? 4 times. 6 months in advance, you had to give the change for the web shop. While Booking.com is doing this 2,000 times a day. This is really the essence. The more experiments you run, the more you can learn, and the faster that you will grow. And where do you run those experiments? You run it on the entire customer journey. So for that, we use the pirate metrics. So we use the R funnel. So we look at how are we acquiring customers? How are we activating them? How do we make sure that they come back? How do we make sure that we make money on them? How do we make sure that we refer them to other people? A lot of people think that this is growth hacking, the activation and the acquisition and activation part, but it's really the entire customer journey. And then, of course, you want to get traction. So where do you get your customers? You get them from 19 different channels. This is coming from the book Traction, which I can highly recommend. Have a look at all those channels and see what's working for you and what's not working for you. Because if you do this, they can play a cool game. You can play with SEO and SEM and content marketing. And the game that you're going to play is channel stacking. Stacking channels on top of each other to make more money. And what's an example of a very simple channel stack? It's having Facebook ads, driving people to a blog, and then nurture them with email marketing. So this is what we do a lot. We put out Facebook ads for targeted audiences, then we get them to a blog, and this is for us, but we also do this for a lot of clients, and then we try to get people on an email list. When they're on an email list, you have an autoresponder, we send daily growth tips, and then of course you want to send them good emails, and at some point people start to reply back. You can start the conversation, and that will eventually bring you a lot of money. Because you want to convert people. And conversion is really, really simple. It's nothing more than increasing the desire of people and removing the friction. So with everything that you do, if you look at your own web page, at your customer journey, with every step, are we increasing the desire and are we removing the friction? Because look at Booking.com. This is actually the only thing that they're doing. They're increasing the desire everywhere. Like, so your jackpot. They're like, oh, I'm so smart, I hit the jackpot. Yeah? They're removing all the friction, no waiting. So have a look at your own website, especially as a startup. Are you increasing the desire and are you removing the friction? But of course, that doesn't work always, because how long do they keep you wait when you book a flight ticket? It's pretty long, right? Do you really think that it takes them that long to find that ticket? They make you wait on purpose, because now you think that they've actually searched for it. These companies test how long do we have to let people wait before they convert. And during that search, they show you all kinds of airlines, so you really feel like, whoa, they're searching the entire internet. But they already have the answer. So what I want to show you is 2 case studies of companies who have done this really, really well. So the first one is HelloPrint. This is a Dutch-based startup, so you can print your stuff online with them. And what did that company wanted to do? They really wanted to increase their growth hacking and make an entire growth hacking organization. So what did they do? They involved everybody in a training week of 7 days. And this is management, growth teams, finance, operations, customer service. And this is also a core part of growth hacking. Growth is not something that only marketing is doing. It's something that the entire company should be doing. So everybody was involved, and during that Power Week, we talked about systems thinking, mindsets, analytics, conversion rate optimization, traction and retention, how do you acquire customers, but also user research and psychology. Really understand how all these things work. And then after that week, they worked on their skills by having a personal T-shaped plan, by having T-shaped plan per team, sending people to conferences, doing courses, on-the-job coaching. And you see, they really went all in on that. Now they are a rising star. Within Europe, they are the fastest printing company. And they will hit the 100 million euro revenue benchmark this year. These guys went all in. Really all in growth. Another company is Recharge.com. Let's say you have an aunt somewhere in Morocco. She ran out of phone credit. With this product, within 1 minute, you can top up her phone credit. That was a great product. It was already used, thousands and thousands of orders per day. So what was the context when we started working with them? They worked in a lot of countries with different providers. And the cool part is they were already running more than 7,500 online marketing campaigns at the same time. Imagine all those countries, all those carriers, different personas. So what did we do with them? We really made sure that they were set up for growth in the right way. So we did a 2-day growth team training, make sure that the entire team is trained. We did user research, really understand why people buy, but also understand how much money do you make on somebody when they subscribe. And at the end, the most important thing what we did is making sure that the team was aligned to one growth goal. This is what happened with their traffic in this very competitive industry. And this is what happened with their daily orders. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's good. The daily orders, this is what they did. the moment they started growth hacking. So how do you implement this in an organization? As I said, we have the 7 pillars of growth hacking for that. Where do you start with? You start with the mindset. That's the most important thing. If the mindset is not right, you can forget it. Then you have to look, okay, how are we going to structure our team? How are we going to break the silos? How do we measure stuff? What's our point of focus? Do we know our lifetime value and all those kind of things? How are we listening to the market? Do we really understand what people want? Because the better that we understand what people want, the better products we can create. So we can create product market fit. That's the 5th one. Then it's all about traction. How do you acquire customers through these 19 channels? And at the end, how do you optimize all of that to really make sure that you get a boost out of your business? And at the end, if you do this correctly, then there's only one thing that can happen, and that is that the rocket takes off and your startup will explode. Well, especially for you guys, if you want to know more about this, we've written an entire ebook. We send out daily tips with all kinds of hacks and tools. If you go to this link, this is a special link for the PODIM audience, and you'll get that ebook. And I might send you also some other cool stuff, like maybe an online course or something like that. But we'll see if there are a lot of sign-ups. And if you want, you can contact me on LinkedIn, because I would really love to help you guys. Thank you very much.